Hello and welcome to Math World. Today we're going to talk about rate of change. Rate of change, aka slope. Alright, so how do we figure out the rate of change? Well, if we had a very simple problem, maybe some kind of one of those animals we had in class, we'll make this little lion or cat or dog, whatever kind of animal you want it to be. I'm not a good enough artist to differentiate, but let's say after let's start with 0. At 0 minutes it doesn't go anywhere. But then after 1 minute, say it went, I don't know, 20 feet. We'll say these are feet, and this is minutes. Alright, so after 1 minute it went 20 feet, and after 2 minutes it went 40 feet. Alright, now most of you can probably say, oh, the rate of change is 20 feet per 1 minute. That's fine, but let's see if we can use what we learned in class to calculate this. In class we said we'll take the change in y, so let's start with the first two. The change from 0 to 20. The change from 0 to 20 would be 20. And we said we would divide the change in y by a change in x. Let's see, 1 minus 0. 1 minus 0 is 1, and so we get the same thing. We get this rise over run, a change of 20 feet per 1 minute. And we know that the rate of change is 20. Our slope is 20 in this problem. Not too hard. The equation y equals 20x. This would work even if we compare the next two plots from 1 minute to 2 minutes. You could say the change from 40 to 20 is 20, and the change from 2 minutes to 1 minute is also 1. Guess what? The slope does not change. The slope will never change, no matter when I do it, what 2 points I compare. You can even compare the 100th minute, which the 100th minute should be 2,000 feet. Let's compare the second minute to the 100th minute. Let's do the y's first. Let's do 2,000 minus 40. What's 2,000 minus 40? 1,960 over the change in our x. 100 minus 2. 100 minus 2 is 98. Do we think this will have the same slope? Let's go and check out our calculator. Our calculator says 1960 divided by 98 is 20. If you guessed 20, you were correct. But if you didn't guess 20, you knew it was 20 because it's always going to be 20. We've already decided that the rate of change for this problem is 20. The slope is 20 feet per 1 second. It doesn't matter which 2 points we decide. Now, while earlier it was very easy to see, I was able to even calculate the rate of change using the 100th minute versus the second minute, using this formula that we learned in class. Let's see if we can now take the same formula that we're learning and apply it to a graph. How does it work with a graph? Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit and use some more space here. Alright. So let's use the same formula of change in y divided by change in x for a graph. Let's choose a graph here, and maybe it has some numbers on the x and some numbers on the y. And I am using some bigger numbers to make it a little harder. Alright, and now let's give ourselves a line. Let's go ahead and use a line like this. Can we calculate the slope of this line? What is the slope of this line? Well, let's use the same method we used before. Let's pick 2 points on the graph that we can make our table so that we can compare. I'm going to choose a point right here, and I'm going to choose a point down here, since I know exactly what these values are. I could have chose 2 points somewhere here, but I didn't draw a very good graph and it might be off a little. let's use these 2 points. We'll say point A and point B. Change in y from A to B. Let's see, it went down 40. If I were to use my ordered pairs difference, this one has an ordered pair of 0 and 40, while this one has an ordered pair of 3 and 0. The difference from 0 to 40, what's 0 minus 40? Negative 40. There's my rise. My rise is actually going to be negative 40. Look at it go down 40 here. It went down 40. That's my change in y. Now my change in x will be how far over it goes along the x-axis. Well, it goes over 1, 2, 3. I can prove that also by comparing the x values. Since I use this 0 first here, I would use this x value of 3. And this 40 matched up with this 0, and it goes here. 3 minus 0 is 3. That's a change in these two x's. And it went over 3. We see that it goes over 3 here. I now have a rise over my run of 3. Rise over run is negative 40 over 3. Yeah, that's a weird rise over run, but that's what it is. This graph has a slope of negative 40 over 3. Could I simplify that? Probably. 3 goes into 40 how many times? 1, with the remainder, 19, and what? 2/3? 19 and 2/3, and don't forget it is negative. You could say that I had a slope of 19 and 2/3. I could use that as my equation too. I could use that as my equation too, or I could use that in my equation. Y equals negative 19 and 2/3 x. This one will have an intercept, of course, up here of 40. So for those of you who understand the intercept, don't want to forget that. But the main point of this lesson is the rise over the run. The change in y divided by the change in x every single time, no matter what 2 points we choose on a table or on a graph, we're comparing the change in the y divided by the change in the x. Well, that's it, and I'll see you in class. Now a word from our sponsor, Papercut Games. This week's game, Uno. Alright, now I know you've heard of Uno. This is a game that I've played since I was a kid, and I'm sure a lot of you have played. It's a very simple game. If you don't know how to play, go ask anybody, because they know how to play. Where each person gets a deck of cards, and you kind of have to throw out cards and match them. So if a green 6 comes out, the other player has to play either another 6 or another green card. And the goal is to get rid of all your cards. There's always fun things to do, like make somebody else draw more cards. And it's a fun game, it's super simple, and it travels everywhere. But, have you heard of Despaci? This is an Italian version of the game Ghost. It's basically Uno, but a Halloween theme to it. The rules are a little different, but you'll notice that they have some of the same kind of things. Here's Walter, number 9, mummy. There's Igor, he's a little scarier and bigger. You have little number 2, Franchino. And there's things that do like wipe the board. They even have their own version of skip and reverse. And the goal of the game in Despaci is to actually scare away all the other ghosts with bigger ghosts. But you know who beats them all? Little Perino, this little boy. He beats everything. So kind of a similar game. You're trying to get rid of your graveyard instead of your hand. And it's basically Uno with a twist. So if you want to play Uno, but a little differently, especially around Halloween time, check out Ghost.